Want to learn how to get a business analyst job? What a business analyst job description is in the first place, business analyst salary, business analyst interview questions, how to put together a business analyst resume, and overall how to become a business analyst. So what is a business analyst? In many of our previous videos, we've talked about the mechanics of how to be a business analyst. Today, we're going to cover the ethical and social implications of business analysis. As the modern business analyst navigates the complex landscape of modern business, it's important to keep in mind these 10 aspects that I'm going to share with you on ethical and social implications of business analysis. And if you stick through with me all the way to the end, I think number 10 will really shock you. The number one ethical and social implication for business analysis is privacy and data protection. So business analysts often deal with large volumes of data that could be very private and personal in nature. It could have personally identifiable information in it, or it could have personal data in there based on individuals in a company's performance that could provide a competitive advantage to a competitor and a detriment to the company's data that you're handling as a business analyst if it's not handled in a private and secure way. So therefore, business analysts have to know relevant privacy laws and really work with their stakeholders to understand the sensitivity of certain pieces of data and whether or not they need special handling to ensure that they don't go through a workflow in your product that exposes it to either other areas of the organization that shouldn't see it or other organizations outside of this one, such that, again, it would provide a competitive advantage that your customer is looking to avoid when using your services. Ethical and social implication number 2 for a business analyst is transparency and accountability. Business analysts should strive for transparency in their processes with their customers, making sure that their customers understand any limitations with the software or even any limitations that are not inherent with the software, but within the scope of the project that has been scoped out for this particular engagement. So you might have software, in my case, we work with software that's extremely flexible, but we work hard with our sales and marketing teams to scope that in a way that the services team knows exactly what they're building and what they're not building within the given time and financial constraints. So the business analyst should be very transparent with the customer on what the methodology will be for navigating through the project, what the steps in that methodology are, which methodology they're using, any assumptions that are being made. So I've done many sales estimates in the past, and we always have usually a substantial list of assumptions so everybody's on the same page in terms of what framework we're working within when trying to deliver a solution for this business problem. Business analysts also need to be accountable for any analysis they create and be able to defend why their analysis is leading them toward a particular conclusion versus another one. So business analysts have to be very transparent with their customers in terms of the different solution approaches that they've evaluated based on their analysis and their findings, and why one of them will fit the requirements better than the other. So if you've stuck with me this far through the video, I hope you're getting some great value and want to be notified every time I drop the next piece of training in this series. Go ahead and subscribe to How to Be a Business Analyst below and click that bell button for all notifications. Once you've done that, drop me a comment in the comments below letting me know that you subscribed, and I'll go ahead and try to answer all of those comments personally. Ethical and social implication number 3 for business analyst is bias and fairness. I'm going to be creating a whole series of the different kinds of bias that may affect business analysts and really anybody in any organization in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for that. I'll get a playlist together so you can have it all together in one place. Regarding bias and fairness, business analysts need to be aware of potential biases that may arise during the analysis process and can influence it in a negative or unintended way. So they should strive to eliminate or mitigate this bias by being aware of the different kinds of bias that can appear during projects and work with effective tools to mitigate those types of bias. This can include things like algorithmic bias. Maybe the solution that you're creating for your customer has an algorithm that calculates insights based on the data in a particular way. Some software developer wrote that algorithm to create a particular outcome, and maybe that's not an unbiased or objective outcome, so you can have algorithmic bias. We all know that 3 plus 2 equals 5, but we may not all agree that data X plus data Y equals data Z. So algorithmic bias is one of them. Another one, I really love to watch aeronautic videos on YouTube. So Mentor Pilot is one of my favorite. And he talks about confirmation bias from the perspective of a very experienced captain on airplanes. He talks about some potentially lesser experienced captains having confirmation bias, meaning if they've done something 1,000 times, they expect the situation to unfold in the same way, even if there is evidence right in front of them pointing to the fact that it is not unfolding that way. Maybe there's a weather pattern they've never seen. Maybe there are some lights out on the runway that typically don't happen because they're driven by a solar source and it's not sunny today. I actually seen this happen on one of the videos I've watched on Mentor Pilot. Shout out to him, by the way. Incredible channel. Check him out if you're into aeronautics. But things like that. Confirmation bias, recency bias is another one. This is what has happened to me most frequently in recent times, so this is what I expect to happen again today. And again, we're going to go into a whole detailed treatment of different kinds of bias. Look out for that one going forward. The fourth social and ethical implication of business analysis is stakeholder inclusion. So making sure that a business analyst engages with a diverse range of stakeholders across the organization or across the relevant group in that organization, and ensuring that all voices are heard and taken into account with an equal weight. People want to be heard and considered, and business analysts should be inclusive of different perspectives because they may uncover a point of view that the business analyst had not previously considered. And of course, it goes without saying that we want to avoid any type of discrimination. If you have an HR person in your life or in your organization, talk to them about protected classes and these sorts of things to ensure that as a business analyst, you are avoiding even unintentional discrimination. Ethical and social implication number 5 is environmental impact. So environmental impact, extremely important, even in business analysis. They should consider the environmental impact of their actions and their analysis and the solution they're proposing by identifying opportunities potentially to reduce waste in terms of energy waste or other types of waste. I worked at a company where we went to different organizations and gathered boxes upon boxes of documents that they had gathered over the years, documenting their processes, and we helped them to digitize all of that, move away from the wasteful practice of cutting down trees to produce all this paper to print out all these things that could, in the modern world, be communicated in a digital way, and avoid that sort of environmental impact. So again, environmental impact extremely important when having ethical and social considerations of business analysis. Ethical and social implication number 6 for a business analyst is social responsibility. So business analysts should be mindful of the broader social spectrum and implications of their work. This involves considering potential impacts on employees, communities, and even society at large. Depending on what type of product you're producing, this may have a greater or lesser effect. And they should assess the social consequences of what they're doing as part of their analysis. An example being, you may be providing a product that is watching what websites people are going to while they're working, and different workers may react to this in different ways. If they're top performers who are really on top of their work, they might like the recognition of, hey, now I have proof that I'm a top performer who is paying full attention to my work daily. But on the other hand, you may have lesser performers or more distracted performers who wouldn't like such a thing. If you're a vendor creating workflows for your customer and your customer asks you to create a PIP workflow, a performance improvement plan, which is sometimes designed to manage out poor performers, you may want to think about spinning this in a way to uncover particular metrics or insights that were previously ignored that may use this performance improvement plan to give folks an opportunity to jump into a higher tier rather than being managed out. Now, sometimes it can't be avoided. Sometimes you have poor performers who are just unwilling to improve within that particular scenario. But I think in some cases, the social impact can be managed by the business analyst in a positive direction in terms of taking something potentially negative and bringing out insights that were previously ignored to result in something very positive. Item number 7 in terms of social and ethical implications for a business analyst is ethical decision-making. So business analysts should make decisions based on a strong moral compass, adherence to strong ethical standards, making decisions that are morally sound and aligned with professional codes of conduct, So we want to keep all of these things in mind. And this includes maintaining integrity. We are professionals after all, avoiding conflicts of interest, and prioritizing the interests of our stakeholders. So business analysts need to behave in a professional manner, avoid foul language, all these obvious things. And then, of course, you're going to run into situations where your ethics may conflict with what you're perceiving as the organization's ethics or leadership's ethics. And I encourage you to communicate freely about these things up your management chain. So you want to, in a professional way, talk about how you think the behavior you think you are hearing is unethical and how you would do it a different way, and you may be able to come to a compromise. In some organizations, they won't budge and you won't be able to come to a compromise. And hey, many of us are employees at will, so just as an organization could remove you if they see fit, you're free to look around and try to find an organization that's a better match for your ethics and morals if something like this comes up. But I think that a lot of these things can be resolved with open communication. Item number 8 for ethical and social considerations of business analysis is responsible use of technology. As technology continues to advance every day, business analysts must take into account the implications of emerging technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, and different types of workflows and automation. They should be knowledgeable about potential risks of these technologies and the benefits associated with them as well, and try to balance these things through responsible use. So as I mentioned earlier, you may have a software solution that is monitoring activities of different individuals at an organization, and you may have different reactions to that sort of thing, some positive and some negative. So messaging and business consultation to the end users to show them what the potential benefits could be for them is vital in those cases. But again, responsible use of technology means that we have to have open communication about what the technology is doing and not try to sneak something in that your end users aren't aware is there. This is what we want to avoid in terms of responsibly using technology. And also, ChatGPT is all the rage these days as an emerging technology that is AI-based or artificial intelligence-based. And some people who may have negative motives may use ChatGPT to, write reports for them or to do the work for them. And I think it could be a very useful tool if you use it as a baseline and build your experiences and your ethics on top of it and everything that you as a human being have to offer to elaborate on those different topics. But if you're using it to take the place of yourself, then I think you're doing yourself and your stakeholders a huge disservice. The 9th ethical and social implication of business analysis is continuous learning and adaptation. So, given the evolving nature of ethical and social considerations that we've talked about today, business analysts should stay informed about the latest ethical frameworks. And I plan to do another in-depth deep dive on popular ethical frameworks so you have an idea of what they are and how they are emerging over time, so you can continue to improve in those areas and try to adhere to the ethical frameworks that ring most true to you and are most resonant to the work that you're doing with your stakeholders and your customers. And I told you that if you stuck through all the way to number 10, you might be surprised by the 10th ethical and social implication of business analysis, and that is having difficult business conversations. So some people are totally averse to this and will gladly pawn the work off on somebody else because they don't want to have a difficult conversation with their customers or their stakeholders, but they are vital as part of a growth path of evolving as a professional. Effective communication, unfortunately, does include having difficult conversations sometimes. And as much as a business analyst can spin something into a positive and show all the awesomeness that will come out of the solution that we'll be able to provide for a given business requirement, we do have to have difficult conversations from time to time because you run into customers who just want everything for nothing or want everything your product has to offer within a time frame that's totally unreasonable or undoable, impossible. And they want to force it anyway. They may say, well, put as many business analysts on it as you can, put as many software developers on it as you can to make this happen. It must happen this quarter. And you have to be able to have difficult business conversations with your stakeholders to explain in a professional manner that you're here to help them achieve their goals, and you want to do it in a realistic way that doesn't compromise the quality of the deliverable. And if you rush things through or try to throw too many people at it who will end up spending too much time learning from each other on what's going on and all the background instead of actually producing, it'll be counterintuitive to the customer. So many times, your customers or stakeholders have something in mind and don't actually know how to go about achieving what they want to achieve. They'll propose something that on the surface seems like a great idea, but you'll know based on all your experience in watching all the playlists on this channel that it may not work out that way. So I'll give you just a quick preview. We're going to have a whole detailed playlist on having difficult conversations and do deep dives on difficult conversations. You don't want to beat around the bush or put in lots of filler words because you're afraid to deliver the actual message. You want to be clear and concise and say, here's what I've observed. How can we work together to resolve this? So you're not going to be blaming them. You're going to be collaborating with them synergistically to solve the problem, but you want to be very clear about what the problem is, right? So they're saying, we need our dashboarding solution done by next week on Friday. And your response could be, we've been awaiting sample data from you. We just received the first sample file today and have gone through it, and we found these 3 particular issues that typically, in my experience, take a week and a half to resolve. So it doesn't seem feasible that we'll meet this due date that you've given to us. However, would Wednesday by end of day work for you? So you never want to leave it open-ended. You want to give them a day and time. Even if that day and time may not work for them, they'll appreciate that you're giving them something solid instead of something nebulous. But look out for my deep dive on difficult conversations where we go through many, many more awesome strategies.